just a question that we've asked generally across the board this afternoon is, where were you when you heard the news and what was your reaction?
Well, I was getting off a plane from chairing my meeting of the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, the foundation fighting malnutrition and hunger in the world. And as I got off the plane, I hadn't had my phone on, and I heard some of the passengers speaking in German, and I heard the name Mandela, and I just felt that this was the moment. It's like, I sort of couldn't control my emotions, and coming down those stairs is this enormous era has come to an end. I didn't put my phone on, but I knew the day had arrived that we had to say goodbye, because Mandela was mortal. And while we hold on and cling onto his memory and his values, his life had to come to an end, and we have to say goodbye and try to live up to his values. So I came home, and I just spent the last few hours just trying to sit quietly and meditate and reflect on my time that I spent with him, because I'd spent most of my life fighting for his freedom. I was there from the first day that he was released, and then I spent the decade of the 90s working alongside him. So it's been a very emotional time for many of us, not just in South Africa, but across the world. Not just for those that worked with him, for the billions of people for who he stood for the values of social solidarity, of human dignity. I think this is an enormous loss for the whole world.
Jay, you were there in the early days. You were in his first cabinet, as you said. Just give us a taste of what those first heady days of freedom were like.
Well, the first time I saw him, like I said, I spent most of my life fighting for his freedom, and when I sort of encounter him for the first day that I see him, on the day he was released, and I'm expecting this towering, iconic personality, and there's this very regal person that walks up to me and says, "Welcome to my home, my comrade. Let me show you around where I have been living." And then as people flowed in, and we're having this really intense debate on where he should speak, he's like shuffling around to different people, making sure they had tea and biscuits, until finally, while the whole world is waiting for him to walk out of Victor Verster, he says very quietly, "This has been my home for 27 years. I will speak in Cape Town." And that's when the time we walked out together, and him and Winnie arm in arm walked out to be received by the world. So, I never had the sense ever that I worked for Mandela. I worked with him. He had an overpowering sense of humility, of being able to trust the people he worked with, to engage them very robustly, but never in a type of the big leader who felt he knew everything. He had a sense of humility, but at the same time such an intuitive sense of intelligence, emotional intelligence, that allowed us to navigate some very stormy waters. We were at the edge of a precipice of a racial civil war in this country. He pulled us back by his understanding and his leadership.
Okay, Jay, one last quick question. What do you think Mandela would have been had he been born in 1994 instead of 1918? What do you think he would have been today?
Well, I look at my son, my second son, was born in 1992, and my daughter in 1995, and I see in them the reflection of their values, their sense of fairness, of commitment to human dignity and human rights and social justice, and they obviously think a lot about what people like me did, a generation that brought freedom, but they are more interested today in what is happening. That democracy has to go more than just the right to vote every 5 years. It's about the right to jobs, electricity, water, the right to quality education. And I think these are the values that Mandela would have fought for today. He would have fought against corruption. He would have fought against political arrogance. He would have been a unifying force that we need so desperately, not just in South Africa, but in the whole world today. I think he would have done the right thing. He would have been part of the fight for a sense of a better humanity that guaranteed people their fundamental human rights.